Hey everyone, your host Nick here, and you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. First, I want to remind you that we are a fully independent podcast, quite literally just a group of friends who have met once a week since 2008 to talk about video games. If you like our show, the best thing you can do for us is be active in our community. I recommend Discord. You can subscribe to our show, leave us a review on your preferred podcast service, or, if you're so inclined, bless us with your patronage on Patreon or Twitch. If you're new, all you need to know is this. We record these shows live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central on Twitch, and the audio version launches on all podcast services on Friday morning. Patreon and Twitch supporters will even get the show a day early on Thursdays. But if you want to know more about any of this, about what we do, or find all the important links you need, simply visit us at 4playernetwork.com. And that's it. This is the only ad you'll ever hear on this show. So, with that said, thank you for listening. Let's get started.
I think for the sake of the podcast, you should introduce us by your first names only, except for Chris Davis.
That's what I okay. Oh,
That's
okay. I see what
literally
you're saying.
I hate you so much.
No, I was about to say I
No, but
usually
not
do
for
that.
the
It's
sound
no.
test. I mean for the actual podcast intro.
Okay. With that in mind, hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 803. It is July 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Nick. I'm joined by Brad.
Who's that super badass motherfucker? Remember that comic
No.
jumper song?
No, I
is
don't.
Brad. I used to play it before my streams all the time.
Oh. I don't know how that went over my head. Anyways, Nolan is also joining us. Hello, Nolan.
You have
Hey,
to
how's it going,
watch
everybody?
one of my streams, Nick. Dick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Nick. I didn't know you said Brad. I thought you said Nolan.
I did. Touche. Well, hello, Nolan.
Who's
How are
that
you doing?
stupid Brad motherfucker?
God damn it, Brad. Stop
is
talking.
Brad.
Somebody put a muzzle on this guy. Nolan,
can mute
hello.
him.
Third time's the charm. Nolan, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And Chris Davis.
I hate you so much. I just.
This was Brad's idea, and I think it worked out pretty well.
It's not
But-
even my idea. It's the community, our collective idea. We just have not been doing it for some reason.
I mean, it's funny. Like that has bled into my life. The whole calling Chris Davis thing. I even did it right then. Like I could have just said the whole calling Chris Davis. I didn't even do that. I said Chris Davis twice. It's bled into my actual life. Like when I'm texting people or when I'm talking to other people about Chris Davis, I call him Chris Davis. I once I was telling my parents about something related to the podcast, and I said Chris Davis right after mentioning Nolan and Brad. I think it went right over their head, though. I don't think they noticed.
Here's the
I don't
thing:
talk
is
about-
that the real source of this problem was David. David started this shit. I don't think he genuinely wanted to make that a joke. It just y'all decided to run with it as soon as.
I mean,
joined
that's
the
his
fucking
legacy.
website.
We'll call it his legacy, but that's neither here nor there. Guys,
There wasn't
welcome-
even another Chris back then. It was kind of like it wasn't even necessary. Now it just feels necessary.
Well, we've established this before that I honestly couldn't. I don't know which Chris came. Maybe y'all do. I don't know which
Chris
Chris
Davis
came
came
first.
first.
Because there was
Yeah.
a day. There was just a day when Chris Davis was there.
He was an
I don't-
acquaintance. He was an acquaintance before we met Chris. No, he was around officially. Wait, when did?
Where did he come
Huh.
from?
Where did he
Nobody
come from?
knows.
We've asked this question so many times.
Wait,
Where did
wait.
he-
Okay, so I knew David
feel
in
like we
high
were
school.
infiltrated
Nick,
by Chris
you and I
Davis.
had met before.
I
through an
know.
acquaintance,
I know.
So like, you know where we came from.
Okay. Well,
I know. I have a Chris Davis story that I won't share while we're live, but maybe one day I'll tell you.
don't worry. The
David
mics
knows
are
what I'm
off.
talking about.
Go ahead.
The mics are off. No, I don't want to share it. I'll tell y'all. Maybe you know this, Nick. Never mind. Moving on.
Okay.
All right.
He said maybe you
Very
know this. Like he was
mysterious.
about to tell me
Very-
what it was.
When
And
did
he was
he-
like, wait.
Wait, was Chris Davis around when I was living with Jack and we were doing the podcast there?
Yeah, I remember. I think so. Well, I don't know. Chris Davis. Do you
so.
remember Jack?
I remember Jack faintly.
Okay, he was
was a
definitely
long
not
time ago.
podcasting.
If it was when y'all were living off of Brody, then Yes.
Okay,
It
let's
was-
not dox anyone here. Easy, buddy.
Yeah.
Dox you for an
Luckily,
not
it's a
even
big-
an address, a street name that you lived at 15 years ago.
I mean,
yeah.
that narrows it down, first off. And secondly, no, it was when they were living at the place that the cupboards were filled with
Convict
Pringles and
Hill.
Oreos.
Just name all the streets I lived on.
Wait, when the cupboards
All I
were
said
filled
was the
with what?
cupboards were filled with Pringles and Oreos and Pop-Tarts, and that's literally all they had in their fucking cupboards in their kitchen.
That was fucking. That was. Yeah, Jack had some strange eating habits, man. He was like a
Brad is not
cartoon
refuting
character.
it.
Like a cartoon
It's
character.
true character.
To
Anyways,
be fair, when
guys,
you're in your 20s, you can eat like that for a good
Do-
while.
do what you want. All right,
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
reining this in, guys. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. We are here to talk about video games. It's been 2 weeks since we recorded a show. Last week we did just a long trailer talk, which was fun. But since then, the games have come out. Things are playable. We're here to talk about them. Before we get too far, I just want to let everybody know, one, that if you're not in our Discord, you should be. Discord.gg/4player. Jump in there, hang out, introduce yourself. If you're new in the introductions channel, we'd love to hear from you. But two, and I mentioned this before the live recording, we're going to kind of fire up some social media accounts. We haven't been really focusing on that lately. It's not going to be anything crazy. But Chris Davis and I are going to be kind of managing that. And we're looking for 2 or 3 community members who tune in for the shows frequently or hang out in our Discord a lot. I think Discord maybe is secretly the most important factor here because that's the way we communicate with everybody in our community. But if that sounds like something you might be interested in helping us out with, reach out to me in Discord, and we'll set something up. But we'll talk more about that later. Anyways, for now, what's been up, everybody? How's it going? Anybody go see Twisters?
My dad
That's
did.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad did too. What about your
I haven't-
dad? Yeah, it's a dad
I haven't
movie.
seen
Dude.
it. I have not, dude. I know. Strangely enough, like 4 coworkers of mine all saw it on opening weekend, and I was like, "That's."
Wow.
And these are people who I always get this distinct feeling that like they look at me like I'm crazy for going to the movies, at least especially as often as I do. And I didn't go see Twisters, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, we went and saw Twisters." Weird.
Yeah, I don't know whose Twister movie that is, but Bill Paxton and Philip Seymour Hoffman are dead. So I know and I heard Helen Hunt ain't even in the damn movie. So what the fuck Twister movie did they make?
That is true. This is. I mean,
It's
Yeah,
starring
you're
the
right.
guy from Top Gun 2.
Glenn Powell is his name.
Are we calling it Top Gun 2 now? I mean, I guess
Call it
that's
what it
fine.
is. Top Gun Maverick.
Floppy top.
Yeah, what was he in? There was a
Glenn
he
Powell
was in that
has been
recent
a
movie
shit ton of
Hitman,
stuff
right?
lately.
Hitman, yeah.
He was in Hitman,
so
which
Robert-
I watched. Is pretty good.
Yeah,
And but I had a movie grid, and it was like I had to like recall what's his name, Glenn Powell movie, and I'm pretty sure he's never been in anything outside of
Dude,
Everybody Wants
he's-
Some, which was also a
He's been
Never
popping up like crazy and stuff.
I'm pretty
Lately,
sure we
right?
are on the ground floor of the takeoff of Glenn Powell's.
I don't know. We'll see.
Career.
Twisters did really well.
It's doing it did really well, and it reviewed much better than I ever thought it had any chance of reviewing. Like,
Oh.
quite honestly, I'm kind of shocked. Like, it's not
Oh.
being panned. Most people seem to think
Oh.
it's a fun, enjoyable
tornadoes
film.
are cool.
I mean, tornadoes are
Um,
pretty cool. I mean, when
but-
they're, you know what I mean.
I don't think he's been in anything.
They're
else
bad,
huge,
but-
2 Linklater movies though. So
I did see
Seen-
Longlegs. I don't think we've talked about.
I wanted to see Long Legs.
And I know Crispy's not here tonight, but Crispy saw Longlegs too, and was also
Good for-
very
Good for that fucko.
yeah. Tell me about it.
Care what he's up to. He be on the podcast. Tell us what he's up to if he wants.
He'll.
to.
I believe Crispy's plan is to return to the show next week.
I'm mad I haven't seen it. I mean, this one kind of got overhyped, but I've long been a fan of the director. So back when he made horror movies, no one watched, but everyone watched this one, I think, right?
I didn't realize
Oz Perkins, star
Yeah.
of Legally Blonde.
Yeah, that was. I was like, I
Apparently.
did not realize it's the guy from Legally Blonde. Robin
The
told me
nerdy
that, and I
guy?
was like, say what? Yeah, had no idea,
Oz
but
Perkins. He's made some cool
it's pretty
horror
good.
movies, though.
The Draft House was showing like clips from some other movies that I guess I don't know if they were his movies or movies that he's just been involved in, and it was just like some that were just like making me go, what the fuck, this guy is bizarre. Something about a dog. Oh, there was maybe somebody in chat started. There was a movie they were showing clips from with Oz Perkins in it. It's
He was
about
in it.
a guy. Yeah, he was in it,
Oh.
and it was Gary Busey was transformed into a dog.
He didn't do it.
Yeah. Quigley.
Quigley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God.
They were showing clips from Quigley, and I was like, "What is this?"
But like, I mean, he turned into like a kind of like a respected like horror prestige director, but they were like very underground.
Yeah.
I recommend Black Coat's Daughter. I love that movie.
Yes. I actually added that to my list because I've never
Gretel
seen it.
and Hansel, which I
He
also
did
watched.
that?
as a kid. Yeah.
Isn't that the one with oh my God,
There's been a lot of Hansel and Gretel movies, but
Hawkeye?
the one
Isn't
that's like a
that-
very slow burn horror film that's kind of like cool. He did that one, and also I Am the Pretty Thing. That one's probably the slowest of all his movies. But
Why
I don't know
would-
how was Long
That was
Legs?
what? Longlegs was excellent. Not here's the thing. I think it was probably really easy to slip into the hype or fall into the hype. Because in my head I was building it up because like a lot of people were throwing around crazy statements like this is like our generation's Silence of the Lambs, or it's like the one of the best horror movies since Seven or Silence of the Lambs and shit. And I was just like, those are really great movies, and I do think it shoots for those in terms of like atmosphere and tension, and I think it mostly succeeds. But I think because I had those comparisons on the top of my brain when I went into it, I walked out maybe a little bit disappointed. And it also went in a direction that I really wasn't expecting, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Honestly, it's probably a good thing because it means I was surprised at the end. But yeah, no, easy to recommend. Excellent movie. Excellent fucking movie.
I would have watched it if Griffin wasn't terrified of movie theaters for some reason.
You would have taken him
So
to see
annoyed.
Longlegs?
No. He was supposed to
Not
go watch
recommended.
Despicable Me with his brother and cousin, and because my parents were like, "Hey, we'll take the kids and go do something, all right?" And they're like, "Well, it was probably going to be lunch and then a movie because it's hot or whatever." And I'm like, "Fuck, Griffin doesn't do movies. He last time we tried to go to a movie, it was a fucking disaster." But I was like, "But you can try. We'll be nearby. Just give us a call because we know this is going to go bad." And sure enough, my mom called and she was like, "Yeah, he won't even go into the theater. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs." He was screaming, "Not Halloween, not Halloween," which he screams now when we're watching something he doesn't want to watch because he only wants to watch Halloween stuff. But him screaming that, I think, was more.
I thought you were saying he had like a traumatizing experience because he looked at like a Halloween poster or something, and therefore
No.
didn't want to
He
go
loves
into the-
Halloween. He's already wearing Halloween clothing. It's more that that's not what he yells when he's watching he doesn't want to watch something. So he was yelling, but really he just didn't want to go in theaters. Probably because the previews were too loud. Last movie we went to, the previews were turned up so fucking loud. He was freaked out. He didn't know what was going on, and it wasn't the movie we wanted to watch.
We're getting really off topic, but strangely enough, I've noticed the last like 3 or 4 times that I've gone to the Draft House, they turn the trailers down because there's a very noticeable increase in volume when the actual movie starts. So, just thought I'd mention that because it seemed relevant. Anyways, hey guys, welcome to the show. Time to talk about video games. I know we're gonna revisit. Well, actually, in fact, I think we're gonna start here because the last time we recorded a podcast, Brad, you had played the demo for Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, right? And there were some concerns. And now you've played a fair chunk of
mostly questions, but yeah,
questions. But like
questions
those
have been
questions were
answered.
rooted in, maybe some concern.
I played a healthy amount. Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Oh, like literally, we're going into it.
We're going into it.
Oh.
We've shot the shit enough. Let's do
The
Footage is live.
well,
Go.
the footage is. I mean, maybe skip ahead a little bit. I mean, honestly, I recorded a lot of footage here, but it's a little strange because probably the last 30% is when I actually start a regular level. And the reason is because a little bit of how the game is broken up and sort of the full scope of everything. I think the first thing we're going to see is I'm going to do a boss fight, and I'm going to like kind of, at first it's going to go really bad, and then I'm going to restart that boss fight, and basically
Real quick, for those who maybe don't remember
for,
what
like-
this game is, right? This is like
Yeah.
this is Capcom. What genre would you even call this? Because I mean, it has
don't
like
know.
tower defense
Like-
elements to it, maybe.
I mean, sort of, not
Right?
really. I mean, yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to put a label on it necessarily, but because it's that's hard to do. But I have all these like little villager people here that kind of stand where I tell them to stand, and I assign classes to them. And I'm going into a boss fight, and you have when you're assigning a class to a villager, you know, kind of like promoting them or whatever,
Yeah.
like in an RTS or something, maybe. And then they're kind of like towers, I suppose, but this is just a boss fight. There's nothing happening outside of me fighting a boss and my villagers fighting a boss. I just sort of pick a really bad class makeup, and it just goes bad. So then I restart, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a bunch of archers, and I'm going to choose this power up to like, you know, increase, because this thing is like flying. I didn't know what I was getting into. And there's a little bit of a trial and error element to boss fights like that, because for similar situations. But yeah, so here's the crazy thing, and this is a sort of like an action strategy game where you place villagers, and maybe they're kind of like towers, right? Because they have different job classes and they have different roles, right? Like literally, there's ranged, there's like melee units, there's like an area of effect unit that like will slow down enemies, which is a very tower defensey thing. There's like a tank unit. I recently unlocked like a sumo wrestler that's sort of like a tank and draws aggro. I unlocked a thief class that only that you can't actually use in combat. He runs away. It's literally a unit just for daytime, because and again, you're not going to see it in a boss battle, and maybe you could skip ahead a little, Chris Davis. You're not going to see it in a boss battle, but there's a daytime and a nighttime cycle to most levels. And during the day, you're running around like collecting resources, and just getting things set up, but most of it's just sort of like you know, like unlocking like little shortcuts so you can get more resources, so you can unlock, you know, the or the relic or whatever on the map. You're doing all this stuff during the day.
And then the action happens at night.
And at night is when the enemies come out. And you know, like the thief just like finds hidden stuff in the village during the day, and then you want to like reclass them you know, before night falls, so he can like participate in actual combat. Like it's a very strange game where you're spending a lot of time like outside of combat, not just in actual combat levels, but also there's a lot of like base building in this game. And probably like the second third of this video is like just doing base building stuff, and I would have loved to have just jumped into a regular battle, but there's sort of an element to there's like there's a lot of stuff you could do as for the base building that requires like time, and that time ticks away by completing a level. So like for me to have jumped into a regular level would have meant that I wasted a bunch of like potential like base building resource points. Does that make sense? It's like I had to go like let's say they're repairing a house, and they're like, you know, knocking down some rubble, and they're like building a fucking gate or whatever, and all of that takes like one battle's worth of time to complete. And after I finish this boss battle, I'm like, well, I got to go get all that stuff that I earned after having completed a battle, and before I can go into the next battle. Otherwise I'm just sort of wasting time. So, but here's the thing: the base building aspect that happens like between combat stages, that base exists for every single level in the game, every single area. So you go back to each of the levels bases to like get them to 100%, because you unlock so many valuable resources that you use to level up your job classes, because they all have like their own skill trees, and they get a lot more powerful. And you know I was running into bosses that are like kind of difficult and stuff, so I'm like, you know, I really need to level these guys up, especially because, you know, they start getting like unique abilities and like their range. starts to expand. It's just like a core part of that gameplay loop. So you have to do this base building aspect, and it's actually kind of addictive. Like kind of going back and assigning villagers to do these different tasks, then heading back out into a battle to like progress that time, so you can get all those resources and level up your guys. And it's actually led to me replaying a lot of levels, because each level has like hidden challenges that if you complete them, you get like this core resource that you need to level up your guys. And I'm like, well, I need that shit. Mm-hmm. They don't show you what the bonus missions are until you complete the level once, though, which is kind of frustrating, which means like if you want to actually try to achieve these, you need to replay a level, unless maybe you look up a guide and just try to achieve them on the first time through. But they're kind of like bonus challenges, almost like you wouldn't really want to do them on your first time through a stage, because it's like I had one level where I was my priestess or whatever, who walks towards the gate like we talked about last week to purify it or whatever and finish the level. It was down in like some underground cave, and I had to like light all these like lanterns or whatever to light up the way, so my guys would could see the enemy to attack the enemies that were spawning. But if you don't, one of the challenges was get through this entire level without lighting up any of the lanterns, which would probably make it a lot harder. So it's sort of like a bonus challenge thing, and it's not something you're really supposed to do necessarily on your first time through. But some of them, I probably got like really close on, and I wish I just would have known what the bonus challenges were my first time through. I don't know. So it's a lot of like replaying levels, and I don't know if it was designed that way to kind of like add more content to the game. But I will say like the core loop is like compelling enough, and like that progression system is compelling enough and addictive enough to where I kind of like going back to these bases and like clearing all this stuff out. It's just the character only moves so fast, and you're running around these like villages for a long time, it's running back and forth, assigning villagers to various tasks and stuff. But luckily it's addicting, and luckily I do care about that progression. Otherwise it would be kind of like weird and awkward, the fact that you have so many different you have a base for every level that you did.
See, that's one thing I don't think the demo did a really good job of kind of.
Well, it did, but you had to play more of the demo.
I mean, I guess I didn't get to the end of the demo.
So the thing that I couldn't really determine, right, and the big question mark after the demo was, because the demo was all kind of the first few stages of the game, was how deep is the strategy going to get here? At the time, I was sort of putting all of my guys right at the enemy spawn gate, and we were just sort of like dogpiling them, because they were all trying to get the priestess, who was slowly walking through the stage. Why would I let them spread out and like approach her from all sides? So it just made most sense, and I was able to get through like the first 3-4 stages doing that every time. Eventually you get to stages where there's like multiple gates and they're coming from multiple places, and I even got to a stage where there was like a path choice, so I can go down one path versus another. But that was just sort of like, maybe this path had more like things to set up to like aid in the defense versus like heading straight towards the gate. But the strategy changed. It did become more complex. The problem is, instead of piling all my guys in front of the gate that the enemies are spawning in, now I'm just setting them up around the priestess every time. It literally doesn't make any sense for me to spread them out, because like a tower, like y'all play tower defense games, right? If you could just put all your towers in one place, you could, the enemy would never get past you. But you're kind of forced to spread them out throughout a stage, really. And I know you're about to ask a question, but let me say this: the reason that this strategy of just sticking them around the priestess is so important, it works so much better than like maybe putting some dudes in front of this gate and some dudes in front of this gate and kind of spreading them out strategically, is you have to be near them. Since you're a character who runs around the stage, you can't like jump back and forth between the villagers. They're tied around you. So the only way you can like assign them like slightly new positioning or whatever over by like the gate where the enemies are spawning would be to physically run all the way over there and then move them around a little bit, and then run all the way back to the other side of the map where the other gate is and move those guys around. It doesn't make sense. Just pile them all around the priestess, because it's too much. You waste way too much time just moving around the map if you were to run around it like that way. If you can like disconnect from your controllable character and like jump to different villagers, it might make sense. But the fact that all the assigning and the positioning and the healing of units has to be with the character you control and around the character you control, which means I want to be
Seems like a pretty big limitation.
I'm going to keep playing because I've actually really been enjoying the game
during the demo.
Well, I was concerned about the awkwardness of just piling them all up in front of a gate. Now I'm just sort of piling them all up by the priestess, which is better. It's better. I mean, dudes are coming from different directions, and I do like that better. But it's
how many hours
still,
have you
like I
played?
said, strategically, it doesn't feel like the most complex game in the world. But what's happening is other aspects are propping up that experience. Nolan, what were you going to say? And then I'll answer Chris Davis's.
Yeah, so earlier when you were talking about piling up enemies in front of the gate or whatever, while I'm by no means an expert, sorry, that's what I meant. So you were talking about just generic tower defense stuff. While I'm not an expert on tower defenses, I've played my fair share, and I think even if y'all recall, 2 years ago now, maybe something like that, I talked quite a bit on the podcast about one of the ones I was playing, Rogue Tower, a roguelike tower defense game. And yeah, so to your point, Brad, one of the concepts in that, and I don't know exactly, I've been watching the footage, but I haven't really seen a whole lot to answer my question. But like one of the things, in games, generally tower defense games, is, an enemy has so much health, and as they're walking past your tower, they're losing health, but then eventually they can just get far enough away that tower can't attack them anymore, which is the point of that you can't dogpile all of your villagers or whatever, your towers, in one spot, because eventually the enemies are just no longer going to be in that spot. And my question was, how, obviously that's an issue, but then how does it work if you just pile them all around the princess or whatever? Can't they just kind of make their way through them and get to the princess, or has that not been a problem so far?
Well, I mean, none of the enemies are like so, especially with my assistants, where I'm slashing the enemies, none of them are so powerful that they're like really getting past. It's more of like a strength and number sort of things, but the numbers are trickled out so much to where at any given time, they're like zombies or something. Like the only way it's going to be a problem is if I let myself get overrun, but they don't have so much health to where they're not manageable. And they wouldn't be manageable if all my villagers were spread out, which is kind of my point. Like I don't see the advantage of having another strategy outside of keeping all of my villagers around the priestess at all times. Now, there could be some loopholes. There's been some interesting loopholes here and there, but keeping the villagers near me is pretty important because of the UI elements of how you control them.
So that is an interesting concept that I kind of am intrigued by, the whole concept, like you said, that you have to physically be standing near them to reassign them and give them directions. Because to your point, generally, most tower defense games, you're more of like an overlord where you can kind of control anything, anywhere, at any point in time. The fact you have to physically run over, that definitely, I like that concept, and I'm intrigued by it for sure.
Bog Noise in chat brings up, is there any aspect of this that kind of reminds you of the rampages in Monster Hunter Rise?
No.
Which is
not really. No.
Okay. It seems kind of similar to me, but then again, I don't have a ton of experience with
Monster. It's definitely closer to like tower defense. It's just that awkward thing where the ultimate goal is for the priestess to go. But it's not even that. It's the fact that the thing that you're trying to protect is heading towards the thing that's spawning the enemies. And that's a little weird. Because eventually both the priestess and all your people are going to be on top of that gate. So nothing's going to, and there's this awkward thing where sometimes she's just like 5 feet away and night falls. So you just got to all kind of pile on top of each other until night's over, and it's just this awkward thing of everyone's fighting near the gate, and it's a little awkward, especially because I've gotten to levels that are like multiple parts. There's like one part and then there's 2 parts, so there's like 2 gates. So she kind of purifies the first gate, and then you get to a second part where you got to move her down, and then there's another gate, and then you finish the level. This is hard to describe, but time passes during the day and she slowly moves towards the gate. At night, she stops moving, and you're just protecting her, right? But by the time, so it's during the day where she moves towards that final gate, that were the first gate in this case, and then you purify it, and then you can get to the second part of the level. But you do that during the day. So by the time you get to the second area, a lot of the day potentially is already over, which means night's coming,
So
and
you
you
don't have
just
a lot
got
of
to a
time
new
to
area,
prepare.
and you don't have time to set anything up. And it's so strange. It's so awkward. It's like, I get what's going on here, but like, this is such an awkward moment. And it happens to me every time. And it's like, I'm either like, which means the way you prevent that would be to get her right outside the edge of the gate
And
on the
not have her
first part of the stage, wait for night to happen, beat them all up, then let day break again, and then you can start the second area right at the beginning of daytime, which also, like, it's strange, but okay. There's a lot of, the game's cool. The game is cool, and that's
Let's
why
boil it down to essentials. The game is cool.
that's why I'm enjoying it, and I plan
It's
to keep
fresh.
playing,
That's
because
for sure.
there's a lot of style here. I think right now I have the Amaterasu skin and like one of the weapons from Okami.
Ooh,
And you can actually swap out all the music with Okami music. It's free DLC that the game launched with.
Cool.
You should have
And
led
you
with
go
that.
into the main menu, and you can change all the tracks, like the battle track, the boss track, the village track, to like music from Okami. And you can put on this Amaterasu outfit, and like but like the actual look and the weapon and the music and stuff of the main game is good on its own, to where it almost feels like a waste to be using the Okami stuff, but it is cool. And I did eventually go back to like this game's tracks, outside of one, the boss track, which is uses like the sun rises from Okami, which is like an all-time great video game track. And I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing Kunitsu-Gami's soundtrack is gonna have that's gonna be any better than this. So we're gonna leave this Okami track on for boss fights, because it's so good, and it is really good. It's a similar vibe.
Doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
Like visually, I hate the way that my character just blocked the intro of that new enemy. But like, there's like, the bosses look really cool, and like the enemy designs are really cool. I felt like a cool centipede boss where I had to keep lighting up torches like in the middle of the boss fight. It was very like Pikmin-esque, I feel like. And it was tricky. It actually took me a while to get through that boss, and I'm glad like it was kind of like pushing back a little bit, because it made me really think about my build and like kind of my villager setup. And I appreciate that, because I feel like if I was just sleepwalking through the game in terms of difficulty, I'd probably get a little more frustrated with the like the awkwardness of the strategy. But the fact that it's forcing me to think about it, in terms of, well, I mean, boss fights, right? I've not really got to that point in regular levels, really, but at least in the boss fights, it kind of like forced me to think about my loadout and stuff, which is kind of cool. I'm hoping the regular stages get to that point. I could see the complexity kind of creeping in, but like, it's just the presentation and the look, and the music, the art, and just like, it's the little things,
taking
right?
a chance on
Like,
something that's fresh. I mean,
there's a lot of little things in terms of the presentation. I did speak to this a little bit last week, like when you're going to the priestess, and she's like awarding you, or you're like level up your characters, and just the way the UI looks in the presentation, and you can, every little item that you collect in the game, you can kind of like zoom in and like read about it and like spin it around, and like there's a lot of like detail in that stuff as well. And it's like it everything is like very like ceremonial too, when you're like in the camp and stuff. And I just really like the vibe.
got
It's very
vibes for
unique.
days.
And one of the things that, like, like when you level up one of your characters, like the priestess will like clap afterwards. I mean, it's the little things, and I can't stress that enough. You have to play the game to really see what I'm talking about, but like, it's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Going back, you never answered Chris Davis's question. How long have you spent with this game? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, handful of hours.
Like, are you? So you don't?
I don't really track it like you do.
Well, yeah, but you don't really feel like you're like approaching the end of the game, and like,
No,
is there
no,
still
no,
plenty
no,
of
no,
time
no,
for this
no,
game
no,
to
no.
get increasingly?
Oh,
complex?
for sure. But like I said,
presentation and the fact that it's actually just kind of addictive and unique is helping like a ton, right? And it is very like fresh, and it has a lot of like Okami vibes, but like honestly, like Okami, those vibes are still pretty unique. You don't see that a lot in terms of like the music and the look, and I'm just enjoying it a lot. It's like very cool. It's very cool. And the last thing I'll say is that everything in the game is like unspoken. Like there's like almost no spoken word, and like I'm so glad. I feel like if there was like a lot of exposition and like story and like the priestess talks and she was like explaining things and stuff, it would be so much worse. It'd probably just get boring and like annoying and maybe like par as far as like storytelling. That's just my guess, right? But the fact that like everything is like visual and you're just sort of experiencing it through just
there's a confidence in being able to tell a story without
like imagery and stuff and art and it's good. Like it's I'm glad that stuff is not getting in the way, and it's like I don't know why there's cool arms popping out of the ground when I'm making the path, but man, it just looks cool.
It doesn't matter. Cool. It's cool. Yeah.
So yeah,
sweet.
I like it. I recommend it. It's on Game Pass, so like defo.
Can't go wrong. You think that's gonna? Do we think? I mean, maybe it's way too early to be even having this conversation. It is Game Pass. Like, who the fuck knows? But like, do we feel like this game is going to be another success for Capcom? Or
I don't think so. I think this thing's probably going to get ignored, to be honest, completely. Unfortunately, but it is on Game Pass at least. So
unfortunately, I think the consumer lucky to pass 1 million sales. Like,
but God, not even close, dude.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to close. I mean, it could also be one of those things where it's like 2 or 3 years after it launches, there's like a resurgence and suddenly it's getting like all kinds of attention. You never know. But like, this is like it's cool to see Capcom taking chances on games like this because they are finding so much success through Monster Hunter and through Resident Evil. Like both those series are firing on all cylinders and like probably funding all of these kind of weird smaller projects.
I want to see more smaller projects from big publishers like this, though. It's really cool. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But maybe they should have sold it for like $30 or something if they really wanted to like sell well, because I just don't.
But it's free, Brad. It's free. It's on Game Pass.
It's not free. Game Pass is not free.
I know.
And I even downgraded my Game Pass Ultimate to like PC only because they upped their prices yet again, and it's just not. I feel like it's becoming less and less.
You had the
worth
non-PC only. You don't have an Xbox. Do you have an Xbox?
No, that's gross. Why would I have an Xbox?
I don't know. You said you downgraded to PC only. I was like, why would you not be using PC only to begin with?
There's a PC tier and there's a PC Ultimate tier.
Yeah. No. I mean, no, it's Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Xbox and PC. But Nick, just because you're not familiar with what you spend money on doesn't mean I'm not.
Hey,
it's xCloud. It's xCloud. You have to, if you want to access xCloud, you have to have Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah. But I decided I'll pass on xCloud. Which was nice, right? In theory, you could run Starfield really well without necessarily running it on your PC. But my problem with xCloud is that there was like you have to sometimes wait a little bit before you could get into the game. Like there was like a queue, kind of like you're logging into a fucking MMO or something, and I'm like, we're waiting in line to play your cloud game. I'm like, come on, you're fucking up. You're already fucking up if I have to wait to play my cloud game. And it wasn't like super long, but I don't want to wait 5 minutes to like get into my game. Other cloud services aren't like that. So why is xCloud that way? It wasn't worth it.
Makes sense. All right, well, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess.
It's cool.
Weird title. Cool project. Good. I mean,
this thing. I mean, there's 400 something reviews on Steam.
If you're like listening to this podcast,
it's been out for a week. I mean, that's not for a Capcom game. That's pretty fucking dicey.
It's also it's in the middle of July, which I wouldn't necessarily describe this July anyway.
It's the perfect time to play a game like this.
Yeah, there's not a ton coming out this month. Like it's I don't want to say it's dry because there's still games coming out, but like
I hate to see a new
Not a
IP
ton.
like this struggle though, because I like new IP, especially when it's cool like this.
Yeah.
You know, this it reminds me of like fucking Clover. This is unrelated, but there's been, Akumi Nakamura, right? What's her name?
That's her name.
Spooky.
Yeah.
From she
Spooky.
had a studio
Tango
called
Gameworks.
Unseen, and she's been
Yeah.
interviewing like other developers and friends and stuff. And so far, there's been a 2-part series where she's been kind of hanging out and talking to Hideki Kamiya, and it's like really good. I highly recommend watching.
What's the name of the game she's working on now? Like she has. Does anyone remember? It looks cool.
Yeah, it looked cool. But anyways, yeah, they talk a lot about like Okami and Clover because she helped on Okami. She helped on like Bayonetta, of course, and then Scalebound a little bit. And they're talking about all these projects and they talk about the Clover days and I really miss Clover because all those were like cool, fresh ideas, but almost all of them were like financial letdowns, right?
Yeah.
But it was sort of like when she got hired on to Capcom, she got to choose like, oh, do you want to work at Capcom proper? Or do you want to go work at Clover? But like, she was like, oh, I want to work at Clover because that's where all, like the cool shit was happening. And she joined the Okami team. But
Kamuri. That's the name of the game.
Sad when they shut down
yeah.
fucking Clover. What
Clover.
the fuck?
Yeah.
But I'm glad it spawned Platinum, All those people could have just stayed at Capcom, I'm sure.
True. Okay. I want to swing the pendulum back over in a completely different direction. Chris Davis, you've been playing a very different kind of game.
Very different kind of game.
Which is also, as I understand it, in early access still, right? Just to kind of get that out of the way.
Yep, it's an early access game. It came out last month. It's pretty cool. Getting the time index here for my transition.
It's all right. Well, I will preface this conversation with I'm prefacing it with the early access things. I tend to do that a lot, but it's also a genre of game where early access doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as a lot of other genres.
Yeah.
So of course, go ahead. Take it away.
So the game in question is Fallen Aces. It's the new game from New Blood, the publisher behind Dusk and a bunch of different things. This is from not one of the Szymanskis. This is a different guy. I forget his name. It's
one guy developing it, right? Or
I believe so. Yeah.
I think at the very least, it's a very small team.
This is a immersive sim lite first person game. It is
retro first person shooter.
Yeah, first person shooter. It is set in a like 1940s-ish scene where you are a noir detective, and you get pulled into this mob war that's going on that involves a team of vigilantes, superhero vigilantes that are slowly being hunted down one by one.
Wait, the mob is hunting down a team of superhero vigilantes, and I didn't know that was the premise of this game.
Oh yeah. There's it's an interesting plot. Like it's the parallels to Watchmen are very, very clear. But it's actually really cool. So it is half of an immersive sim in which you're going around and you have these semi-expansive levels, and you're exploring and finding secrets and the other half is you engaging in first-person combat with limited weapons and ammo. The game is built around a melee system in which you try to stun, juke, jab, and do uppercuts and finishers to do flashy things. Every time you do something like powerful, there is a musical sting that happens. Like when you sneak up behind an enemy and you give him a karate chop to knock him out.
Nice.
You get a
judo chop.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool. Yeah. This game's pretty cool. So
it also has a very distinct visual style.
Very.
If you're trying to picture this, it almost looks like it's ripped right out of the pages of like a detective comic book or something from,
Yeah,
40s,
it's entirely
50s.
based around a comic book aesthetic. All of the cinematics are just comic animatics of the characters talking and things like that. You've seen a motion comic, you know what I'm talking about. And each level, so there's 3 episodes to this game. Episode 1 is out now. It's comprised of 5 levels. You could finish the episode in less than 2 hours. Each level has felt like an experiment of a different idea. And it doesn't feel like it's really coalesced into one singular gameplay loop.
Which is interesting because that's why, why I specified that like this genre of game usually when I see early access, it tends to mean something very different. Like, because I played Cultic a few years ago, which was technically chapter 1 of Cultic, and they're working on the second chapter now. But chapter 1 was comprised of like 12 or 13 levels that were all huge and long. I probably spent like 7 or 8 hours on that chapter of the game alone. So, and then there's Sulaco, which just came out, which I haven't played yet, but I hear that the early access component of that is also pretty extensive. So you're saying this one is actually pretty short and not like there are a bunch of different ideas that aren't like.
Well, so are
they not jiving together?
I wouldn't say they're not jiving. I think they're working. I just think that like they're not fully connecting for what they actually could do. Again, each level is like has felt like kind of a different idea. Like this level, this is the 3rd or 4th level in the game in episode 1. You are infiltrating a manor on the outskirts of town where a recently murdered vigilante, one of the aces, that's why they're called Fallen Aces, the team were the vigilante aces.
Gotcha.
You're finding out like what happened at the manor and trying to find his secret cave to retrieve something or other. I forget what it is. The level design, again, it's immersive sim light. So it's not like fully fleshed out like a Deus Ex or a Dishonored or something like that.
I wouldn't even go as far as calling it Gloomwood. Yeah,
I wouldn't even say Gloomwood. Right? But I will say that like there is plenty to find. I played through each level. I didn't even find half the secrets per level. And it's just you going through and trying different things. The second level, I think, is probably the best experience of the entire thing. The second level is a more straightforward immersive sim experience in which you are trying to escape a part of the docks of the town. And what you have to do is you have to get to the other side of the river somehow and lower the drawbridge so you and your vigilante that you're working with, Nightwind or something like that, can get their car and drive away.
Gotcha.
And like, there's multiple ways to approach it. Like, you can go all the way around the docks on foot and try to get past all the goons that you fight. You can sneak into a warehouse and get onto a gondola that'll take you to the opposite side, and you avoid a lot of enemies. Or you could try to take the straightforward path and swim through the river. Problem is, you're taking a risk if you go through the river because it's filled with sharks. And there's
sharks in the river? Okay.
Oh yeah. All these tropes, man. So
freshwater shark.
The game gives you a lot of options. There's a lot of places to explore and find content and items and notes and secrets and things like that. And it always feels pretty rewarding to find this stuff. Like I'm just about to stumble on a secret. Like I find a button behind a dresser and it opens up like this panic room with where I can get like body armor and a Tommy gun. And it's secrets, man. I'm telling you. And this game is just fun. It's like right here. I see the button, I press it, and lo and behold, the bookcase opens up right behind me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's
Doom.
Well, it's a retro first-person shooter, aren't they all Doom? Like they're all trying to be Doom.
I mean, you're not wall punching the entire time.
Okay, so sorry, Duke 3D. No, I heard this is a little bit more like Dark Souls actually than
Dark Souls.
I've heard Souls
yourself.
game mentioned when someone was talking about this. I mean,
Who
I
the hell
guess
was saying
immersive
that?
sim.
I don't know.
Immersive. I mean, I'm not talking about like swords and spells. I'm talking about more like the slow, deliberate pace of the gameplay, maybe.
There is no slow, deliberate pace of the gameplay if you choose to not do stealth.
which is weird. You always do stealth,
but
even
like,
in games where like
can the
stealth
combat
is
be
not...
hard if you went guns a-blazing?
I mean, yeah, it can be because you only get 3 item slots, and ammo counts for an item slot. So if you get a gun and you use up all the ammo, you have to have a spare clip in one of your other item slots to reload. See, there's a lot of ammo management. Your weapons break if you use them too much. The enemy variety kind of challenges you to prioritize your threats. Like in the final level, they start introducing enemies with like machine guns, and so you kind of have to like time their attacks and try to get in a few jabs if you only have a melee weapon.
Which it sounds like melee is kind of the focus here, right? Like, are they giving you more melee weapons and they're giving you like pew pew weapons? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. But
You have a stamina bar?
I'm sorry?
Is there a stamina bar?
You have stamina for your melee?
Yeah, there's a stamina bar at the bottom of the screen. You just keep doing it'll drop over time.
Interesting.
I was gonna say, I was like, the moment he asked that question, it's like he's setting us up for a trap. Yep, he's making the Souls comparison.
Yeah,
but like lots of games have stamina bars that aren't Souls games. I just feel like the Souls thing's a
I
bit
didn't
of a
call
reach.
it a Souls game.
Was somebody
else
else
call it anything? I'm saying no, they didn't. They said combat was kind of Soulsy.
Well, they need to work on their definition of what a Souls experience is then. So, like,
well, if you,
I think this game is pretty cool. I wish it had more content for episode 1. Because, like, I understand this is like a $10, $12 game, and that we've got probably several years before they finish episodes 2 and 3. But, like, the way they structured the levels and the narrative that they got going on, I immediately wanted to go into episode 2.
That is the biggest thing that, I've fallen in love with this genre as of late, the past couple of years, but like all of these amazing retro shooters are coming out, and they're almost all coming out in early access and being released in these which is usually the result of them being developed by a very small team, sometimes one person working on it for multiple years, which, obviously it makes the most amount of sense. But like the fact that going back to Cultic, the fact that I started Cultic 2 years ago and I haven't finished the story of what is essentially going to be one product, one game, one project, you know what I mean? Like, when I eventually do go back to play the next episode, I'm gonna have to kind of remind myself of everything that happened, or I guess I'll have to go back and play the original one again. It's just I feel like it's an unfortunate way to have to release a project. I guess the one thing that's keeping I want to play Sulaco so bad, but I don't want to start another incomplete shooter. That's another reason I was looking at this and I haven't started it yet, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's also just the birth of the genre. I mean, that's just how shooters were released back in the day, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, the shareware model is what made Doom.
I guess you're also, I've admittedly, I didn't play, this is a recent, my love for this genre is a very recent development. I didn't play, classic Doom back when it was hot. I dabbled in Duke 3D. I still haven't played that game from beginning to end, which I should probably rectify at this point, considering how much I really enjoy this genre. So yeah, I'm coming into this very late in the game, so you're right. It's probably not as weird as I'm making it sound.
Yeah, and also you have to remember that this was made in a time in which, there's one guy building this, and there's one. I don't know. Two people working on Sulaco.
It's a very. They're usually being developed by very small teams, and they have a lot of content they want to make. And the only way to you don't want to be working on a game for 10 years before anybody gets their hands on it. So the model makes sense. The model makes total sense.
Are you saying you don't want it to be Spy Party?
It's true.
You talking shit about Refactor?
Well, yeah. Way to make me look like an asshole, Brad.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
I guess you're right.
This is fun. It's like $12 on Steam. I think it's worth the money. There's plenty to explore and find, and the combat system is pretty fun.
The price seems right. That's
definitely.
That's for sure.
So, go check it out. This game.
The combat system.
All that being said, about solo people, blah blah blah, working on games for too long, Didn't I don't remember the guy's name, but Concerned Ape didn't like Stardew Valley take like 12 years to make?
That long?
As it was, wasn't it something like that? Maybe it was like 7 years or something. I can't remember. I know he soloed that for like so long.
Still working on it, so that clock's still ticking.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like that game is just like raking in the money, right? It's like,
well, yeah, because it's
one of the best-selling indie games.
All right, so maybe it was closer to 5 years. All right, so half of that, but still,
you're wrong, Nolan. You were wrong.
One guy working on a game for 5 years.
It pays off, man. It can pay off.
Yeah, it can.
It pays off when you're Stardew Valley. It does not pay off for many indie devs. That would be
I'm not saying
the whole concept of
is kind of horrifying.
Broken. Yeah, it's like a like streaming, right? Like we were back when we were doing it. We were like top of the heap, but there were so few people doing it relative to what it is like now. I couldn't even imagine someone who's like, I'm going to become a streamer and build an audience. Like it feels impossible now because literally like millions of people do it. Like insurmountable. I feel like indie development is a little bit like that. Like, who the fuck would think I'm going to make an indie game? I mean, Jesus Christ, there's so many.
I don't think it starts like that, Brad. I think it starts, someone who's just passionate about gaming and they have a skill set and they're like, hey, I kind of want to do this maybe for funsies or as a side project. It could even be someone who already works in the industry and they want to do, like I said, like a side project on their own, and all of a sudden it kind of develop into something. They have maybe an idea for something like niche or either something that's not been done before.
I get it. I'm just saying,
a twist on something.
10, 15 years ago, you could channel that passion into like something that actually was sustainable, and now it feels impossible. Like it's like rolling the dice now, like streaming or podcasting.
It is, but I will say this.
But it's so much
mad props to all the super talented indie developers out there who take the risk and make the gamble, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have all these wonderful games to play and talk about. So
yeah, it's just a shame if they're not going to be around to make their next game. I mean, I'm glad we got to play about them and give a blurb on our podcast, but Jesus Christ, imagine working 5 years on a game and then 3 people review it and 4 people download it. It's like, oh, hope you got that Game Pass deal, but we've seen those numbers. They can be pretty dire too. So fuck it all.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I hate to end the segment on such a negative Nancy note, but I'm going to do that. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
What?
I was going to say I've got a quick mention, but yeah, go ahead.
What's your quick mention?
Do you want to squeeze your quick mention in right here?
We'll do it.
I'm not going to stop you.
Well, you actually mentioned the game earlier before the show, but I started playing Pacific Drive.
Oh, yeah.
That
game is pretty good.
That game has still getting updates. They've got a roadmap for the rest of the year.
Well,
and they released
that
an
shouldn't
update
be surprising.
last week.
It came out in February.
Yeah, but
Still
I figured
new.
they'd just be one and done, move on.
Oh no, dude, that game's deep.
I'm about 10 hours in so far. I'm really enjoying this.
I low key I do not, as of right now, as it stands, I don't see a world in which Pacific Drive does not make my list at the end of the year. I still have a lot of game to play there, but
this game is so good on vibes.
It's got great vibes. It's got the mechanics are addicting as hell. It's at times terrifying, and just like the idea of like building a survival game entirely around driving and maintaining a car in like a post-apocalypse is pretty cool, and it seems like they've used it to great effect.
But also, like, the narrative is intriguing. Like your connection to the car, it's more than just an intangible item. It's affecting you from a narrative perspective, and
it's giving you boners. You want to fuck it.
No.
All right, we'll be back after this short break.
Don't do it like that.
What's the thing? What was the thing about dragons and cars?
I'm more thinking of that episode of Strange Addiction, really, but.
Brain going in so many different directions, but I do wholeheartedly endorse Chris Davis's addiction to this game. It's,
when you get back to it, there might be all this new patches and content, quality of life, whatever. That game that's waiting for you, Nick, might be even better.
I mean,
It's been my experience with a lot of games this year.
No, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was pretty fucking solid at launch though. Like it was a smooth experience. I didn't have many problems, and but the one thing I did say I will say that was kind of disappointing was that it ran like absolute dog shit on the Steam Deck. Couldn't even play it. I don't know if that's changed. I haven't tried.
Well, you also weren't using Moonlight back then, so just
well, no, I mean I can use like
PC.
if I take my Steam Deck to work, I can't do that.
Well, the most recent patch, they did some optimizations, and they even added a performance mode to PS5. So it's probably a better experience than Steam Deck now.
We'll see. I'm gonna give it another shot when I get back to it. But like at home, yeah, I'm playing. If I'm playing it at home, I'm on my Steam Deck. I'm gonna use Moonlight because Moonlight's still an absolute game changer.
It's still a magic trick. I was shocked how good Kunitsu-Gami looked, and I'm just playing it through Moonlight.
Yeah,
crazy.
For sure. Okay. Anything else you wanted to say about that before we take a break, or
other than just the fact that it's getting me really excited for Stalker 2? No.
Yeah. I guess I could see the lines you're drawing there, but I mean, let's be real. Pacific Drive wasn't necessary to get you excited for Stalker 2.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will take a quick break. When we come back, I have a game I want to talk about. I've been playing Nobody Wants to Die, which is strange enough. I did another, noir detective-esque game, but of a very different genre. So we'll talk about that when we come back. We'll maybe do a little bit of fantasy critic discussion and wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I have finished the Elden Ring content. I am thinking about doing another new game run.
Is it really goated? I mean, I feel like people kind of moved on and they're like, well, that final boss was hard, but let's get back to the real gaming.
It's pretty good.
It's good. I mean, if you've liked, what does that even mean? It's like if you first of all, welcome back to the show, everybody. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. Come on. What are we
from
what
the
are we
outside? I had not even started up. From the outside, it's so easy to be like, but I know as soon as I start playing, I'm gonna be like, holy shit,
here's the thing.
As an outsider.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. DLC or big expansions like this for games that are immensely popular. I feel like you already have a built-in amount of people who are just not going to come back to it because some people just don't. They don't do that.
Yeah.
So like you're really all you're seeing from the outside is just a smaller amount of people who are willing to go back to something that they have already established was challenging. You know what I mean? So there's probably a lot of people who are like, I'm proud of myself. I made it through the base game. I'm not going to open up that can of worms again. I feel like there's just a certain amount of people who are just out for that reason. And then the other side of people are who just don't really go back to expansions. And then there are people who are like, I've played Elden Ring before. This is not high priority.
I'm just playing all these fresh and new games this year. And I'm like, I love Elden Ring, but do I really want to dedicate a bunch of time to playing
here's
more
the thing.
Elden Ring?
Once you let yourself...
Yes, but I don't know until I start playing.
Yeah, once you... It took some convincing. I had to kind of convince myself that, I mainly convinced myself that because I don't play a lot of expansions or a lot of DLC, so the only way I'm gonna do it, I know, is if I jump on the bandwagon while it is the new hotness. So I did, and I've now sunk about 35, 40 hours maybe into the expansion. And
you have?
That I did. Yeah.
I thought you played like a more reasonable amount and you put it down for now.
Well, I haven't played it in about a week. But I decided I was going to try and finish Fallout 4, which I did, by the way. And I'm pretty sure that's the first Fallout game I've ever finished.
That's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, also, you keep expecting applause for that.
No, I'm not expecting applause. I'm just saying.
You keep saying it like you're waiting.
I was like, I have played a lot of Fallout. I've played a bunch of Fallout 3. I've played a bunch of Fallout New Vegas. I've never actually seen credits roll. How did you not finish
Fallout 3 back in the day?
I don't know. Honestly, I have to go back. I'd have to go back and look at my
You probably
Xbox achievements. There's a chance that I may have
There's all
finished
that
it.
DLC coming out and stuff. We were all playing that too. I mean, how did you? How?
I don't think I ever played. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Nick, from Fallout 3, you think you would have remembered Liberty Prime.
So give us out of 10. What is Fallout 4?
Hey, look, I'm not.
You keep bringing it up. Give us the number.
It's a great game. I had a great time playing Fallout 4. Although I did pull a Nolan. I did pull a Nolan with that game. I don't know how much Fallout 4 you've played, but like kind of the big thing that is unique to that game is the ability to like set up settlements throughout the Commonwealth and like build settlements and whatnot, like structures and
familiar.
I did not know until 70 hours in that you could create trade routes between your settlements to share resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was the entire game. I'm like, God, this is so just.
Well, now that you've
unmanageable, like this is awful. Like I wasn't enjoying that aspect of it all. And then I was like, oh my God, wait, what? Somebody just mentioned something offhandedly about setting up a trade route, and I was like, a trade route? Like I was literally like, I have to get enough resources in my inventory, go to the settlement that I wanted to be in, hope that I have enough, build the things that I could build, and then go back out and scout for more. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna sit here and like build all this shit. And then I was like, wait a second. All of a sudden, when I realized I could do this, I had like this web of trade routes going back and forth between all the settlements, and I was, no matter where I went, I had enough resources to build pretty much whatever the fuck I wanted. And I was like, fuck, I've been doing this wrong the entire time.
Now that you finished the best Fallout game, are you gonna go back to Starfield?
Yes, I am gonna go back to Starfield, but not right away.
Tell us about this new game you played.
I was like, this is a bait question. You don't really care. You don't really want to know any of this shit. Okay.
It's widely considered to be the worst Fallout.
I know it is.
If you're not counting 76, but
70 people have come around on 76 apparently a lot.
It took a lot to get them to come around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, we
for
still
sure.
don't trust.
Yeah, I don't trust them.
We don't completely trust them. They just want friends in Fallout.
I know we have people in our community who do play Fallout 76 though, so whatever. It is we don't trust some of those people. Anyways, it is what it is. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I mentioned this in my 4-player minute about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was a game coming out in July called Nobody Wants to Die. I didn't realize it was coming out until like the day before, and I was like, oh fuck, it's here. And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh shit, this game's only $24.99, and it looks really cool. I'm gonna give it a shot. So this is a kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things, but at its core, it is like a noir detective game, with an focus. Like mechanically speaking, the focus is on investigating crime scenes using this like futuristic tech. It has a little bit of Blade Runner in there. It's got the whole premise of the game essentially is that you play a detective who works for it's a government department, the Federal Bureau of Mortality or something. So basically, they've developed a way to keep people alive forever by transferring their consciousness from one body to the next, and they sell like insurance. So basically, people in the middle class and up can basically afford this, and people who in lower class are shit out of luck and they live in the slums or whatever. So all of the powerful people in the world are just jumping from body to body to body. And your character, I think, is like over 120 years old at this point in the game, and he's like on his third body or whatever. So
Get Out.
He works, and yeah, it is a little bit like Get Out. I didn't actually make that connection. Good one. But yeah, so but you play a detective who works for this agency who's like enforcing this stuff. And at the beginning of the game, something has just transpired. There was an accident involving a train. You don't really know what that's all about. You realize that also something having to do with his wife, who he's very clearly still in love with, but something happened to her. You don't really know what it is. So he's like drowning. He's drowning himself in alcohol, and he's having to take these pills because he's hallucinating because of all the body jumps he's been doing, whatever. So he's, it's the classic like grizzled detective with a drinking problem, but like set in the far future, and you're, body swapping and whatnot. it's a cool premise, and another, kind of like leading into this, like the big thing. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game, so it's one of those games like leading up to it, like, oh my god, this game looks really beautiful. And going into it, I was kind of like worried. Also, it's essentially what is a AAA like indie title, and I was like, I don't know. Triple I, yeah, triple I. I never thought about that. A triple I title, right? So I wasn't really sure what to expect.
It's gross. We don't like
but it runs well, and it looks really nice. And I didn't really know what to expect from like the structure of the game. I was like, are you exploring open environments in between going to these like crime scenes or whatever? I wasn't sure if this is going to be like, Batman-esque, or maybe going back to like Condemned or whatever. And I think it's a little bit of both. But like at the crux of the game, like you are jumping, there's story stuff happening, but it is taking you from like basically one crime scene set piece to another, and there's the bridge in between those moments is you usually going back to your apartment to kind of like look at the clues that you just found and kind of piece things together to make deductions, which works in a pretty interesting way. But like when you're
I heard it's an LA Noir like.
It is. Well, I mean, LA Noir. The only reason I didn't immediately jump to LA Noir like is because there's not really an emphasis on interrogate. There's no interrogating. In fact, all the crime scenes you're investigating are everybody's dead. So you're reconstructing the crime scene. You're not interrogating people. And two, it's not open ended at all. It's very linear, and it's just taking you from one. It almost feels level based, because there's very clean distinctions between chapters, and those chapters are set pieces. They let you into this this space where a crime has happened and all these crimes are kind of linked together. Like there's it's like a conspiracy you're trying to kind of unravel. So all of these
levels.
Things. Yeah,
I know that's like an uncomfortable term for you.
I mean,
the person who always desires open world. I get it, but
I don't. I don't.
I
mean, I do a lot of the time, but like I'm enjoying this game a lot, and I feel like the fact that they have restrained themselves to these kind of compact levels has worked in this case has worked to this game's benefit quite comfortably. But when you're actually in the crime scenes, they give you a set of tools you can use, but they're all like futuristic gadgets. So the main one you use is the Reconstructor, which I think is really interesting, because like one of the things I'm struggling with is kind of understanding how everything in this game, like how the actual stuff works in the universe, right? So like think of it like what am I thinking of? Was it like Minority Report, where he's like spinning the thing and it's like he's like rewinding people's memories and shit. Yeah, it's like that. So like you are actually, but like it seems like as long as when you're actually manipulating time, it's actually happening. Like you're not seeing a recreation of it. Like things in the environment are actually going back, and then you're running around and kind of seeing, and you can kind of like fast forward, back, rewind, fast forward, rewind, and as you find clues in the crime scene, you can see the timeline of the event kind of like get bigger and bigger. And as you find clues, it unlocks. You'll see like a little gold bar get highlighted on the thing, which you'll see here in a second. And you have to like fast forward until you are like the line is right on the marker on your device, and then it'll open like a bubble of time that you can like step into, and then you need to find whatever the next significant clue is. It's kind of hard to explain, but just trying to wrap my head around like it seems like everything that you're doing is actually happening, which is kind of a strange concept. And then they also give you an X-ray device, which can be used to obviously look through like the floors and walls to see how like wires that connect certain things, so you can find like trapdoors and shit. And then they give you what do you call it? Like a black light that you can use to like, if someone like was hurt and there's blood all over the place, you can analyze their blood. You can analyze their blood or semen, Nolan. I think I can see your brain is like, come on, he's like, yeah, talk about the semen. Yeah, you can analyze the bodily fluids and then track through the environments, whatever. You can, the jizz, exactly. I can see where this is going.
The The spooge.
The cops, the
Spooge,
jizz is up.
So, yeah.
Cheese it.
But yeah, so you use all those things in conjunction. The weird thing about this, because the presentation I think is pretty fucking cool. So like you can see like in this footage, like the reconstructor is attached to your hand, and you can that thing that kind of wraps around your wrist. It will fill up as you reconstruct the events, and then you can like fast forward as needed through it. And you're just trying to like fast forward and rewind, and then like explore the environment and piece together the actual events. The weird thing is, this is a problem I feel like is, I find I was hoping this as a detective game. I feel like we haven't found that detective game that truly makes you feel like you're kind of in control of making your own deductions.
Well, we've talked about this.
Oh, I know what you're Return of the Oberdin.
And Her Story, Nicholas.
Okay. Well, I haven't played Her Story, so stop bringing Her Story. You're right.
Also, that other game that I mentioned last time we had this conversation, Case of the Golden Idol,
which I've added to my list, and I want to play. So, but right,
but that one with Robin.
There are which one? Golden Idol.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm sure she'd be into that.
So, is the core gameplay loop just going to scenes and doing detective work and nothing else?
The main loop of the game is going to the scenes and investigating. Things happen between those scenes. Things happen during those scenes to expand the story, and then you'll go back to your apartment, and I'll talk about that in a second, where you kind of piece everything together. But what I was alluding to is, because those are all great examples, but I'm specifically referring to like, my brain always goes back to like way back to Condemned, and then I think about like Batman and LA Noire, and they've in these like more cinematic, like, you know, feeling games where they, you know, detective work is a major part of it, but mechanically speaking, I feel like they're always kind of guiding you too much. Like they're always trying to like, hey, look over here, there's a thing over here. Like even this game, like there's a hint mode in this game you can turn on if you're stuck, but I don't even know why you would ever use it, because like even when it's off, it's still like you'll still see things like highlighted in the environment. It's like I don't know why you're highlighting that before I've even pulled out something to find it. I would have found it. The whole point is I should be exploring and finding these things, but like I feel like there's too many. It's holding my hand too much, which I think is unfortunate, because I think there's a lot of potential here.
Gotta play a real detective game.
And like
this is kind of my problem with these detective games, is that like it never works when it's like this. It needs to be
a detective game needs to make you feel like a detective. You need to be able to find the clues without it like highlighting it and you being like, look here,
the
look
laser
here.
eyes does a pretty good job of making you feel like.
Yeah, I mean there have been games that do it really well, and I'm trying to like dance around. You know, that's not important.
Your dance moves suck.
But you know, when you go back to your apartment in between, what's cool about it is that like you can miss things. You can overlook things or not investigate all. Like it's weird. Like they'll point things out, and then you can either investigate them or you might not, or you might do something that starts to advance the story too fast, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I'm not going to have an opportunity to go back and investigate that thing, and then you end up back in the apartment, and they do this cool thing where it's like they turn the floor of his apartment into like this grid, and like you can see like a visual representation of the case, kind of like the string board in Alan Wake 2, and you can see all your clues kind of lined up, and it's very like Alan Wake 2 now the more I think about it, and you're just, but like it tells you what the question is, like here's what we're trying to figure out, and then you have to kind of like work backward and look through all your clues and say, okay, this one might, if you, depending on how you look at it, could be an answer to that question, and if you assign it to that and make the right connection, it branches off and creates maybe two new questions, and then you can like, you're basically like creating this diagram of the crime and like figuring out how everybody's connected, and it's really neat. It took me a few tries to kind of like wrap my head around it though, and that's I think where you feel the most like a detective. But you know, and the last thing I wanted to bring up or talk about here was the like the dialogue choices you make in the game are actually really neat. Like, so you've been as a detective, you've been paired with a new partner, and you both have kind of like a strained relationship at the beginning, right? So like she's talking to you through an earpiece, and depending
Is that
on
what's going on right there? He's like listening to something.
Yeah. He's putting his finger to his ear.
Because I thought he was doing like a Professor X for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It seemed like his hands were up to his temple.
Maybe I should have left the subtitles on so you could tell that somebody was talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's talking to you, and there's a lot of decisions you can make, and it'll give you like branching dialogue options. And later you'll get to points where it's like it'll give you, here are your choices, and there'll be like 2 or 3 choices at the bottom that have that are grayed out and they have like a padlock on them. But if you have said things or found things at certain crime scenes before, you'll see it. Like when that option comes up, it'll make like a sound effect, and then that padlock will unlock because it basically indicates you've done something in the past to make this option now available. And if they don't, you have this feeling of like, fuck, I missed something, or I didn't, I made the wrong call before, and those are the moments where it's like I can feel the impact that my exploration, that my choices have made on the story, and I feel like that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. It's not a very long game. It's like 5 or 6 hours, I think, and I was gonna record footage today because I realized I fucked up the footage I recorded yesterday. And I realized last night when I was streaming this, like, oh fuck, I'm pretty sure I'm about to go do like the last mission of the game, so that'd be like huge spoilers. So I wouldn't restarted the game and played from the beginning. So not a super long game, but also not a very cost prohibitive game. Like I said, $25 at launch seems like a great price for this, and I wish more games tried to do detective stuff like this. Which actually now that you talk about Golden Idol, I'm pretty excited to maybe go back and try that because
it's a good game.
But not Her Story.
I really enjoyed it.
You can play Her Story tonight.
I've tried Her Story, dude. I don't know what to tell you about Her Story other than
tried it. When did you try it? You played Telling Lies.
You're right. I did play Telling Lies. I don't know, dude. I mean, there's something about
Telling Lies
the
are fairly different.
They are different, but this is gonna sound. And I've said this before. It just makes me.
One is much more explicitly like a detective, like you're watching interrogation footage. You know?
I know. There is something about the live action presentation of those games that I just don't like, and I can't really put my finger on it. I'm just not a fan. But you're right. I should probably give Her Story a try. I mean, I fucking own it. I should try it. I don't really have any.
If you like detective games, especially,
I do. I just don't like the presentation. But maybe I'll get over that if I just.
I think it's one of those things where once again, and similar to Golden Idol, I would say play it with Robin because again, it's a good thing to. With games like that, you can bounce ideas off of each other. You can make fun of the game together. You can, whatever. Both, like Her Story. What was the other one we were just talking about from him?
Telling Lies.
Thank you. Telling Lies, Golden Idol. Bernadette and I played all of those together, and I think that was some of the things that made it the most fun. Was like kind of some person picked up on something and the other one didn't, and being able to bounce it off each other. And I think it makes it enjoyable. Hey, did you hear that? And one person can drive and the other person can hang out, or y'all can take turns and stuff like that.
The problem is right now I have it on PC.
That's
so there's not a very comfortable way for us to play it together on PC. Unless I mean, I can technically hook it up so I can play it on the TV.
You need like a keyboard, I think, to play.
I have a keyboard and a mouse.
Well, but hooking it to your. I
mean, I have it set up so that
what's going on over here? There's a little couch or something.
No, I have a couch here and my TV's right here. The problem is, I mean, I'm just saying I have it hooked up so I run stuff from my TV or my PlayStation to my computer. I just haven't gone the other direction. It's probably not very hard. I just haven't done it before. So
you silly man.
Whatever. Neither here nor there.
She got a chair like you, one of these cool racing chairs.
Yeah, there's a couch. You just point out there's a couch right here.
No, I'm saying like just have her push a chair next to your chair and y'all.
I don't have speakers. I don't have like. Oh wait, actually, I take that back.
Speakers.
I do. You know what? This is a stupid conversation we have on the podcast, Brad, and I feel like
you don't have
Let's move on.
For your computer?
I just realized I do. I've had them for such a small amount of time. I forgot that I had them, and I always play with these headphones on. I forgot I even fucking have speakers. Neither here nor there. I know it's crazy. Let's let's move on.
Hey, here's a question. This is related, off topic or not off topic. What is the best way to make it to where my wife and I are sitting on the couch playing PlayStation and we both have headphones on?
Well, it
You were
depends on the
asking
kind
the
of
wrong
headphones.
person.
Huh?
I mean, are
It
they
depends on the
wired
headphone.
headphones?
I feel like if you get those Sony headphones that are like made for you can probably hook those easily. Like the actual like Sony branded like the Pulse headphones, whatever the fuck they're called or whatever. If you have two of those, I think that's fairly easy to connect to the PlayStation. But there's obviously other ones you can do. I just haven't.
Huh? No, I'm talking about two pairs listening to the same PlayStation game.
That's what I'm saying. You can probably get two pairs of the like the Pulse headphones that are made to work with PS5, and those are probably pretty straightforward. Although they're probably pretty cost prohibitive.
Yeah, I would research
imagine.
that before actually spending money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
I think I remember something about the PlayStation 5 being able to put out like dual audio to multiple sources. I don't know whether it can do two headsets or not, but I mean, if
there's headphone splitters, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're doing a wired setup,
but like, could I have a headphone splitter and a microphone? Like if I'm streaming, and I want to wear headphones and a microphone, and we can both listen. I don't know.
Are you talking about
There's
a
gotta be
mic into
easier
your
way to do
computer?
No, to my PlayStation 5.
Well, then just use the mic in your controller then.
No. The mic isn't the issue. The issue is two sets of headphones.
Let's talk about that later. Let's move on.
All right, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to call you on the phone and we'll talk about it. Nick.
Don't call me on the phone. That's a crime.
You said you want to talk about it later.
We hang out here in Discord after the podcast all the time.
No, we don't.
Like if you call me on the phone,
calling you on the telephone.
I will hunt you down. Gives me
anxiety.
Like
I'm David. I'm gonna call you on the telephone.
David called me at work the other day. Like I don't hear from David for like 6 months, and then he calls me one day in the middle of the day while I'm at work.
Your problem is you answered.
I didn't. I texted him. I was like, dude, I can't. Okay. I did not answer. What are you, crazy?
Yeah, never.
Anyways, neither here nor there.
I call.
Do I?
Let's wrap things up with the 4-player.
You don't want to you don't want to talk Fantasy Critic at all? It's been like 3 weeks since we had a chance. Has anything transpired?
Look, I'm still waiting on a Ranger reviews. It has very few, and none of the good ones are counting. It's one of those things where it's like, I sure wish that 10 would have counted, and that 9 would have counted, and that other 9 would have counted. But I'm so glad the 3.5s counted. We'll see.
It really is it really is
Open Critic, man. It's so annoying. I hate Open Critic. I hate this top.
I wish they just used Metacritic.
It's so stupid. But it's still early, so we'll see.
Also, like, if you look at the front page of Open Critic right now, it feels like the theme is everything is mid.
Yeah, if it's indie, look, that's what I've been saying since last year. Don't bid on indies. Don't bid on indies. They'll fuck you every time. And like the one time I decide, you know what, I'm going to bid on an indie. I liked the demo. What happens? It ends up in the same place as all these other fucking indies. It's a purple. When are the indies going to be oranges? It's so rare. It's so fucking rare.
It is.
I want oranges. I don't want purples.
People who don't frequent Open Critic probably have no idea what you're talking about.
Every time, dude, indie's gonna fuck you. Unless it's like a sequel made by the people who made Haze or something. You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true.
A Ranger has 14
Nolan
reviews for
finds
an
the
average of
orange
76.
indies. That motherfucker.
So let's see real quick. So yeah, just quick update here. I mean, because there's been a few things that have released since last time we talked about it. Like you said, we're still waiting on reviews for a Ranger. That's getting at like a 76. Bo, Path of the Teal Lotus, which looks like a cool Metroidvania, sitting at an 80. So it's got 10 points for Nolan there. And let's see what else came out. Oh, Kunitsu-Gami, which was on Chris Davis's list, sitting at an 81. So he's got 11 points. And
there's a lot of stuff coming out. A lot more stuff coming out too.
Conscript came out sitting at a 78, which I think is fucking tragic. I mean, it sounds like another Crow Country situation.
It's not tragic. It's not tragic. That's just what indie games score, dude.
I mean, for
indie games
for fantasy critic purposes, it's kind of tragic. I mean, a lot of these are tragic.
I guess. I mean, yeah. That's what happens when you pick up indie games, man. It's so easy for it to just be like.
Here's the tragic one.
The ceiling is lower. That's That's all it is. It's not complicated. They don't get 10s.
It looks like
normie games.
And normie games. Ed's gamble on Flintlock's Siege of Dawn is kind of
that
tragic.
one looks.
It's sitting at a 70, so it's a goose egg. As of right now, anyways. That could change at a moment's notice. Who knows?
I have 3 games that are rated at 81. It feels so odd.
No, it's not that
For
unusual.
Fantasy Critic. I mean, your problem is not the 81s. Your problem is the 70s locked in.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's really not a lot to update there on.
Not a lot going on. There's games
Critic.
coming out. I'm excited just to play these games honestly more than, but World of Goose coming out soon. I'm a big World of Goose fan.
Yes, you are.
And same with SteamWorld Heist. I can't wait. I'm glad I picked them up, but I'm just hyped to play those games. But who knows? Right. Maybe 10 people will buy the game and the developer will go under. Get a job at Costco.
Well, at least Costco is a good employer.
Is it?
Are they?
They actually are.
All right.
That's what they say, but I mean, you get a job there, and then we'll talk.
We're gonna need you to go undercover, Chris.
Yeah, go undercover and tell us how great it is to work at Costco. Because I can barely shop. I can barely handle shopping there. What?
They're like a
top 100 comp.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, get a job there then, buddy.
No, I'm pretty happy with my paycheck now.
Second job, Chris Davis.
And where's that employer rated? Are they rated as high as Costco?
Okay.
So maybe it doesn't fucking matter, dude.
Careful now. Let's go ahead and wrap up with the 4-player minute for the love of Christ. Brad, why don't you start us off? And also, I don't know if Nolan had to step away because of a slight emergency at home, so I don't know if he's going to be here for the 4-player minute. But if not, that's fine. Brad, you're up. Final thoughts.
Get back to me. Fuck, I had
back
something.
To you. There's only 3 of us here. Okay, Chris Davis, you can start us off.
My final thought is that I have been really enjoying Pacific Drive, and it's kind of what I needed to really get me truly hyped for Stalker 2. I wanted that mysterious go into the zone and explore and find artifacts.
It's the use of the word zone, isn't it? That's what's getting you?
I mean, that's a good portion of it, yeah, because like it's mysterious
a lot of heavy lifting
area where you're finding out a mystery, and I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. Like there is a considerable amount of tedium in this game with your car, and like the design of the procedurally generated levels, how they have to have like every 50 feet is like some kind of fucking obstacle on the road which you have to swerve around, like. Okay, let's simmer down on that a little bit. But otherwise, like going in and exploring and finding these secret documents in a lab and taking it back to your base and unloading your resources to build new stuff and upgrade your car, get more of the mystery. It's
upgrading
really good.
The side panels on your station wagon is just.
Oh yeah,
how is your 4-player minute the same as one of your main topics? I don't understand, Chris Davis.
Brad. 4-player minutes for talking about any fucking thing. Shut up.
Anything you want.
I know, but you said these things already.
Yeah, but it's getting me hyped for Stalker 2 in a way I just was not prepared to be before. Like I'm just so mistrusting of like what Stalker 2 could be with like what's going on with GSC Game World. Like,
here's the thing. I think you just need to detach yourself from that. I think that's the only. As someone who doesn't have a lot of history with Stalker, and you said it yourself, it's not the same. It's not the same team.
It's like not the same team, but it's the same guy in charge, and that guy, he has a less than reputable reputation.
Less than reputable. Okay.
Yeah. So, you can.
Well, we'll see.
Stuff about him.
We'll see. We only have a couple months. Actually, less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months. Yeah. That's
pretty wild.
Sneaking up on me. Yeah. I had another thing, but I don't remember what it was. So I think I'm done for now. I reserve the right to come back later.
All right, I'm passing it back over to Brad. Are you ready, Brad?
I'm passing it over to Nick.
Now, what the fuck? What are you doing this week? Okay. My 4-player minute is now. So I started Conscript today, and I'm going to talk about it next week because obviously I've barely scratched the surface of it. Playable on Steam Deck, plays like a dream right out of the gate, which is great. So I started playing that over my lunch break today, and let me just say, this year is really kind of making me realize that my history in gaming, like a lot of people have just very, Brad, you have like tactics RPGs. A lot of people think of like Zelda or platformers like Mario and stuff as like kind of their survival horror, like classic survival horror is my love language, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And I've always kind of known that, but I feel like this year is just kind of really reinforcing that between Crow Country and now just the like this concept of taking like the horror of World War I and using it as the foundation for a classic like top down or like isometric, or I don't know, I'm not sure how you would describe it, like survival horror game. It's just so fucking cool, and I've played so little of it, but the fucking vibes and the just the atmosphere in that short amount of time was just so palpable. It's just so good, and I can't like combat feels really nice, and I don't know, man. I'm just like it took all of like 10 seconds for that game to make me go, oh yeah, I'm gonna be into this. I don't feel like you have. It's not very often I feel like I have that feeling when I boot up a new game. So I can already tell this game is going to be special. And as far as I know, the game sticks pretty much to like the horrors of war, and it doesn't have. I don't think it's going to go in some weird supernatural direction. I could be totally wrong about that, but I'm just saying, it's such a cool. It's just such a cool lens through which to look at survival horror, and I think it's what makes me the most excited to play it. So I'm going to be playing that through this week. I'm probably going to blow through it over the weekend, and I'll have more to say about it on Tuesday of next week. But yeah, so far so good.
Dang. I got some sad news for my 4-player minute. Oh, you're not done.
Oh, I was just going to say, fucking dude, I was supposed to go see Deadpool and Wolverine on Friday, and I fucking canceled that shit because there's a Dexter panel happening on Friday night, and I'm so fucking excited. So I canceled my. Oh no, it looks great. I'm going to see it on Sunday now. Exciting weekend.
Wow.
Anyways,
damn, I missed this news earlier today. Humble Games publishing shut down.
Yeah.
Speaking of indie games, not quite cutting it these days, not getting enough notice, not selling enough copies. They just recently published Bo Path of the Teal Lotus and a bunch of games this year. Hashtag Blood. Remember that cool like cartoon Saturday morning cartoon looking game we saw in Trailer Talk?
Oh yeah.
They also published, like Ghost Song, Signalis, Moon Scars, Proteus. I mean, they do a ton of indie games like every year. Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. That came out. That was cool. Coral Island. All these indie games, man, they just shut down their whole publishing division. Not quite.
So what happened? I mean, well, I'm sure they probably had a lot of games kind of like lined up to publish. So like what happens? I guess those people are now
one step from Eden.
What happened is the company that owns IGN bought them in a spree of stuff, and that's how these things go these days. They wait 6 months and then they start laying people off.
But what happens to all of the game, like the indie games
that they were currently publishing?
Those they lose their contract and funding.
That's their money.
Fuck.
They try to find other publishers. Yeah, it's terrible.
They publish so many indie games on that one,
and that makes sense, right? It seems unsustainable. It seems crazy. How do you stand out? It's fucking ridiculous. God, terrible.
All right, Nolan, welcome back.
What's your 4-player minute?
Hey, sorry, I had to step away. not very prepared right now.
So you came back and were like, okay, everybody throw the hot
You can talk
potato to
about
Nolan.
Pacific Drive some more.
I don't know anything about Pacific Drive. I mean, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to bring up today. The one thing I will bring up is non-game related. I think that next, or actually, I think it's Friday. The new Deadpool movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Might be the first movie I see in theaters in a very, very long time.
Nice.
I've not been.
That's another one that like there are already like. Sorry, we talked about this before the podcast. Just blatant spoilers all over the place from like major news outlets and shit. It's just like it's
more and more so
insane.
lately. I've been finding myself not on the internet, in the
Probably
sense that like I'm not doom scrolling. Most of my socials either don't exist anymore, or I just don't. I'm logged out of them, and I do hit up a couple of news sources on the odd occasion, just so I'm not completely out of it.
Out of touch.
I also I listen to a few daily kind of like podcasts that kind of just like some quick world news that's going on, not necessarily like video game or politics or anything like that. Just generic. This is what's going on in the world, and so yeah, it's been nice because first off, I don't get sucked into like like I said, doom scrolling and stuff like that,
right.
And then
you don't have to deal with the stress.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's something that I had to like. Bernadette definitely got stressed out when it comes to stuff like that, and I'm like, then why do you look at it then?
Yeah,
is it like one of those things where
it's a plague?
Yeah. So yeah,
I didn't mean to distract you from the excitement.
No, you're good. I've not gotten spoiled anything on it, which is good. I've seen a couple trailers, and then like I said, it's been a hot minute since I've been to the theaters, and so finally gonna go out and see that one. So pretty excited for that. Cool. Just the whole movie going experience, getting some popcorn, getting a soda pop, and
arm and a leg.
Well, yeah, Brad, it's been literally like at least a year. And then before that, so I can tell you every movie I've seen recently in theaters. Barbie, I did see that in theaters. Before that, Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoy your movie theater experience, Nolan.
I hope so too. It's been
might be another year before you get to go again. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. So definitely looking forward to that. And then yeah, I mean that's really all like the stuff that's going on. I'm still obviously in the new place I'm at, still dealing with like new home stuff. And there's still little things creeping up here and there. And
fucking mouse in my attic.
Oh, dude! Get that shit locked down now.
Yeah.
Brad.
No, tell me about it. Tell me the complete fucking tragedy that can happen that could lead to fucking 4 figures worth of repairs. Please give me all the good news about home ownership.
Mid 4 figures easily, Brad, from like a couple of mice. So I mean, step 1 is just put a shit ton of traps up there.
I already got them up there.
Okay.
We had a mouse situation at the condo before where we lived, and it ended in me having to deliver the killing blow on a mouse, and it traumatized me.
Wait, how did you deliver the? It was in a trap.
Didn't kill it.
Oh.
And it was like suffering. I was like, I'm gonna have to do this. It was awful. And I wanted to curl up into a ball.
It sucks. It's one of those things. Like, here's the thing. Yeah, Brad, I'm telling you, kill it. I have no ill will towards it. If it was living off on its own somewhere else, go live your life. It's just when you're in my attic, pooping and shitting everywhere, and then at the same time, turns out there's a leak in my roof, and the water leaks down into your poop shit pile, and then that leaks into my master bath. That's what happened at my old house, Nick, before I moved. It was a cluster and a half, and it cost a lot of money to get, as we're trying to fucking sell the house, is when all this shit's happening. So yeah, it's one of those things where, that being said, having a mouse or rats inside your house at some point in time, it's almost inevitable. It's going to happen. They're going to find a way in. That's just what they do. All you can do is try to prepare
pretty good at
for it. But as soon as you're aware they're there, try to get rid of them as soon as possible, just because they can cause a lot of damage.
Man, home ownership.
Learn from my experience. Oh no, it does.
It's rewarding, but it's
always something.
Rewarding. What is that stupid word?
I've been thinking when they finish my house, I'm gonna get some. What's it called? Diatomaceous earth, whatever it is, and put
I'm sure
several inches of that around the perimeter of the house.
All right, listen to this podcast.
We're getting into like the nitty gritty of home. This is not a home ownership podcast. Let's wrap this show up, guys. Thanks for listening.
If we try,
it could be, but that's not. No, that's not happening. Yeah. Anyways, guys, we're done. That's it. That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday night for another episode. More video games to talk about. In the meantime, you can, of course, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. We'd love to have you there. And you can find all of our episodes on 4playernetwork.com or your podcast streaming service of choice. In the meantime, guys, be good to each other, play video games, and good night.